And the key to a rugged motorcycle, as we learn here at the Indian Company in Springfield, Massachusetts, is a rugged engine. These pioneers in motorcycling devote a lot of craftsmanship and quality materials to all parts of the vehicle, of course. But their real...
I don't even know how I expect myself to be when I first hear it restart. I say restart because I remember when it did start.
This is his daughter. I wanted his story recorded.
Oh, there you go.
I wanted his story recorded. It was important to me and everybody else.
But it'll entangle my son, because my son is really the catalyst behind this.
Correct. We talked about it in '85, and that's how it all started.
Hi, my name is Jim Bender. I was the co-owner of that Indian downstairs with my brother. I was born in Bridgeport, back November of 1946. And my brother, he's 4 years older than me, almost to the day. He was born in 1942. It was originally my father's bike. We lived in Bridgeport. Pop was a big motorcycle rider back in the day. And he loved motorcycles, plain and simple. Back in the day, they had enduro races out in Lordship, and he'd drag us over there. We were pretty much into motorsports because we'd follow him along. I had sisters, and my mother was happy to get my brother and I out of the house. So, yeah, we got introduced into motorcycles at an early age, and anything mechanical. He was a truck driver, as I was and my son is. He got the bike in '44, was during the war, and they were having an auction in Hartford, Connecticut at the Hartford Police Department. He rode the train from Bridgeport to Hartford, because my mother didn't drive, and got from the station to the police department and went to the auction, bought the bike and rode it home. It was always in the yard. We didn't have a driveway. Like I said, I grew up in the south end of Bridgeport, and Pop would come home from work and he'd ride it up the sidewalk and into the yard, and it was always by our side porch. And my brother and I would go down and we'd play on it, blow the horn, pretty much drive the old man crazy. But it's always been there. My earliest recollection, I was probably about 5 years old. I remember riding on the tank, my brother behind me, on the Indian, and that's back in the very, very early 50s, back in the 50s, 49, 50. He was having problems with and it turned out to be the magneto was shorting out, or whatever happens to a magneto, and he decided to just park the bike, and it was always his dream to get the bike running again. In the meantime, he bought a Harley from the Bridgeport Police Department, and that was a Harley 44, and he rode it up. I came home from the service in '69, the bike was still there, Pop still rode it. That was the Harley. But the Indian was put downstairs. And like anybody else that's into any kind of restoration, it was a get around to it. And he just preserved it in the cellar, and that was it. From '51 to '95. My father died in '94, and we were cleaning out the house. We always knew the Indian was there. We always knew it. We used to go down and play on it, and then by the time Pop died, it was cluttered over, and we uncovered it, and we decided that, well, maybe we'll try a hand at getting it going. And that didn't happen. So the rest of the story transfers over to my son. My son had gone to school with Tony and always talked anything mechanical, and said, my grandfather's got a Harley in the cellar. But Jimmy didn't realize it was an Indian. And then when my father died, I frequent Tony's shop. We were talking about the bike, and Tony says to me, "Hey, Mr. Bender, what about your father's Harley?" "Oh, he sold that years ago." "Well, what's he have now?" I says, "Oh, you're talking about the Indian." And Tony's eyes lit right up. And Tony got a hold of me, and he says, "I understand that you have a Indian. Would you be interested in selling it?" Well, the estate was left to the 4 kids. My brother and I took possession of the bike, and we discussed it back and forth, and I suggested that Tony would be the best candidate to own the bike. My brother was going to call American Pickers, you know, but by that time I'd known Tony personally, and so did my son. So I leaned my brother towards Tony, and that was the best thing we ever did with that bike.
Okay guys, it's May 18th, 2024, and it's a historic moment. I actually have Mr. and Mrs. Bender here, if you want to show them who they are. His father originally owned this motorcycle. That's his wife Carol, and they wanted to be here for the day that I installed the engine in the bike that was in their family all these years, which is behind me now. So I'm going to take that motor, and for this historic moment for them, they wanted to see it. I'm going to put it in and document it for posterity.
Tony was meticulous, and I'm glad he had it. My brother later on said we sold it to the right man. Unfortunately, he's not here right now. He's in an assisted living place, and I know he'd die to be here today. I seen it sitting there, and I remember I pictured it sitting in our yard in Bridgeport just before my uncles and my father put it down the cellar. It was a very overcast day. It wasn't as bright and sunny as today, but around this time of the year, and I just couldn't believe it. Tony gave me the honor of blowing the horn like we'd drive pop crazy. My brother and I, we just blow that horn. We'd kill the battery sometimes, so. Yeah, it brings back a flood of memories. I'm a car guy, and I know what it is to restore something. I have quite a few cars, but to see it out there, it's just something I can't even explain. It's just a flashback.
My name is Tony Cardinale. I was born in 1971. And I am the son of Antonio and Esther Cardinale. First-time American. I was a firstborn Cardinale in this country. My father was a World War II mechanic in the Italian motor pool in the 1940s. He was a bus mechanic prior to that in a small town at the base of the village that he was born in Torre Caetani, Italy. And the town was called Fuji, famous for its water. You can find in Italian importing stores. Anyway, he started his career as a mechanic in the 1930s, went through the war, continued as a diesel mechanic through the late 50s into the 60s. And I'm the only son who followed in his shoes as far as becoming a mechanic full-time. So that's how it all started. I started working with my father in the summertime, summer vacations, doing truck repairs for his construction company buddies. Started riding when I was about 7 years old on a mini bike my father made for me out of some spare parts and a motor that he fixed for me. And I've been riding ever since, really. The irony was I couldn't collect motorcycles until I left my father's house because he said you can't own a motorcycle while you're living with me, which I find to be ironic because he's letting me drive all over the place on a mini bike, which is even more dangerous. And so when I got married in 1997, I bought my first motorcycle that I could personally own. And then after the kids were born, I saved up enough money and I bought a bigger bike. And then after that, I just started collecting. Currently, I have 7 motorcycles. The '64 Chopper, Originally belonged to my good friend Ralph Gagliardi. That's 64 that I restored 100% frame off, engine complete, torn down and rebuilt. Then I bought a 2000 Springer, which I had to rebuild the transmission on. You know, I knew that when I bought it. No real restoration, just more of a repair. And then I bought a 65 panhead that I pretty much, all original paint panhead that I went through, bearings, brakes and all, just to make it road ready because it sat for 10 years. And I did a transmission on that only because it was leaking, so I decided to put new gears and bearings in it. 78 shovel head lowrider, pretty much just a cosmetic and facelift on that one. And I'm sitting right next to it now is a 99 Night Train that I pretty much just bought as you see it, cleaned it up and have been riding it just for fun. And my 2012 Street Glide, which is in front of me to my left, that one I just pretty much kept updating it to make it more and more modern so I wouldn't have to buy a new one because they're too expensive. In 1985, I met a good friend of mine, his name is Jim Bender, and we were sitting in homeroom class talking about the cars that we currently owned. I had a 67 Chevelle that was handed to me from my older brother, and I was in the process of fixing that with the skill level I had at a 15-year-old kid. I mean, I had some knowledge, but I wasn't like polished. And we started talking, and he had a Firebird, and I had the Chevelle, and we started talking, and something came up about motorcycles. I can't remember exactly how the subject came up, but it did. And I expressed my interest, and he told me about his father's Harley Davidson that his grandfather had back in the 40s. He didn't know it was an Indian. He wasn't really a motorcycle guy. And after years and years, we're still friends. We stayed in contact, and my interest peaked in the old Harley, wondering, I know they still had it. So then I got in touch with his father, who was also a good friend of mine, and he told me it was an Indian. He wasn't even sure what year it was. And that was like quite a shocker. He thought it was like a 28 or a 29, and I expressed interest in it, and he basically said that him and his brother were thinking about restoring it, but they were really more car guys than they were motorcycle guys. So he said he would let me know. I expressed an interest in owning it, and a year later he came back after a handshake agreement that he would try to talk his brother into selling it to me. And instead of calling up American Pickers, they decided to sell it to me, which I told him those guys have enough bikes. Let me get a shot at one. And he came a year later and he said, I got something to tell you. And I said, oh, please, I hope it's good news. He goes, oh, no, it's good news. We decided that we want you to have the bike. So, and after that was about 5 years ago from this date. It's 2024, so it was about 5 years ago. And ever since then, I've had the bike and I've been working on it since then. After I got the bike, I started to realize that that bike was probably a put together from a bunch of motorcycles that the police garage had together, using mostly 32 parts. 44 handlebar and headlight was adapted to the motorcycle. They obviously didn't have 32, and they put it together that way. So I could tell that the bike was put together almost as a surplus, but it is mostly 32. And as far as the legitimacy of that story, that is just my assumption because the lock looked like it had been drilled, and you know, certain things, there were certain clues that indicated that it was like a put together. But thankfully they used all 32 parts and made it a real 32. It was depressed. I mean, if a machine could talk, that thing was telling me, oh my God, either kill me or fix me. It was depressed. It hadn't run since the 1952. That's confirmed by the Mr. Bender Sr. And it took quite a bit of disassembly. The engine was completely frozen and locked up. The oil was a solid, had to be tipped out of the crankcase. Had to use oak blocks to knock the pistons out of the cylinders. I mean, the thing was really rough. One of the main things that happened to the Indians is the retaining clips that hold the piston rings slipped out, gored up the cylinder wall. I mean, you name it, this poor thing went through it. The seat was torn up, and it really looked terrible. But I saw through all that. I knew the potential of the bike, and you know, I almost thought myself, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? Because I can only imagine what finding parts for this thing is going to be like. But it was an undertaking. It really was. And it was a depressed-looking bike. That is the first year of the tank over frame design. Historically, Indian had their gas tank inside the top rail of the frame. That was the 101 model, which is like the princess of the Indian collectors. They all want the 101s. The 203, which is what I have, is the first design of the modern gas tank that you're used to seeing now, over the frame with the, that modern look. And everybody kind of followed suit with that design after that. So it was kind of a trendsetter. It was a first of that look. 32s are out there, but they're really hard to find because there was such a limited production in 32 at almost the height of the Great Depression. If I remember correctly from some of the people I've talked to, and I could be wrong about this, I heard that there was something along the line of 2,700 total units made in 32. I could be wrong on that number, but if you were to take that number and you divide it by the models that were available, which was the Chief, the Scout, the Indian 4, which is very rare, and the Pony, that's 4 models. So we don't really know exactly how many 32 Scouts, because from my understanding, the records have been lost, maybe at a fire at the original Indian factory, I'm not sure. I do know that the 32 guys are always looking to see who has the highest serial number to see what the production height is. So today is a lot of my friends, especially guys like Ronnie and Norton and some of my friends who helped me build this bike, the machining guys, they wanted to come and see it run. So I said, you know what? Life is short. Let's have a party, Let's just have a startup party, first run, first ride. Let's do it right, I mean, I spent so much damn money on parts, what the hell, why not on a party, right? I mean, what's food and, a couple of things, some beer and some food. I mean, what's that in comparison to the time and the effort and the money that I spent on this thing already? So I decided to make a celebration out of it. Bring all my friends here and all the people who are interested to see it run. Let's watch it run. Let's watch it ride. At the picture board that's over there at the party, but I have a list of names and what they did and their contributions to this motorcycle. It's a special thank you frame over there to the people who contributed and what they did for me on this motorcycle. All right, so this is the thank you plaque that I made for all of my good friends whose, it might sound corny, but their name's gonna go follow this bike for as long as it exists. I'll keep the whole package with the bike. So anyway, number one, I thanked the Bender family for conserving this machine for 72 years and their final decision to let me have it instead of making a TV show out of it. Of course, Ronnie and Norton, Ronnie Mastroraco, Norton Manderville, for all of their machine work and all their due diligence that they did on that. I can't thank them enough. Dr. Weld, Gary DeMezzo of Dr. Weld's Welding in Milford, he fixed my cases, welded them up, fixed a hole in the bottom. My good friend John Magosi, he's a machinist too. He did a couple of small parts for me. He also made my speedometer support bracket for me, which was critical because it's almost impossible to find part. Brian Griswold and Eric Sebastian of Center Auto Machine Shop in Stratford, they did my valve work in the cylinders. Kenny Conroy and Eddie Texera of Stratton Industries for their contribution and all the little that they've done for me. These are all guys that never asked me for anything. They wanted to be part of it, and they, whether because they're my friend or they just, or a combination of the both, they want to be part of it, and they're also my friend and want to help me out. But I can't thank these guys enough. I mean, sure, I could have, found some people to do this or that, but you know what? What better than your friend who's going to look out for you and do it 100% the right way, and doing it because they want to be part of that history. Not just to do it for, whether it be money, whatever their motivation, their main motivation was, in my opinion, help me as a friend and also to be part of this little piece of history. But I will also say that, this whole ceremony, this whole party is dedicated to the memory of my father and my mother. My father taught me a bunch of stuff as a kid. I mean, stuff that only an old mechanic could teach you. Can't learn it in schools. It's just things that you just have to be an old mechanic to know. And he handed it to me best that he knew how in his old ways. Sometimes with a kick in the ass, but he gave it to me. And I'm eternally grateful for him teaching me what he taught me and allowed me to make a living, at what I do now. I have dedicated my entire life to fixing machinery and cars and And I thank my father for that benefit and that knowledge. At first, I may not have appreciated it, but I definitely do now. Definitely.
All right. Okay, everybody. I guess it's time, right? So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank everybody who helped me with this motorcycle, and you guys all know who you are. Okay. You all know who you are. Support. And all the moral support and all of the intervention for my illness, my addiction to motorcycles.
Hey, Jen.
So anyway, it's a historic moment. I'm honored to be the caretaker of this bike. It's been a long road. It's been very exciting, very challenging. And I hope to God that the legacy of this bike will live on long after I do, which is the reason why I had Jake here doing all the videography of it. So everybody here, there he is. Everybody here will be part of it. And even when we're not even here, someday when this is in a museum or hanging over a bar, and the video that goes along with it will all be immortalized in this little moment. Okay? Without further ado, I'm going to go get my gloves because it's chilly.
Yeah.
Squiggly. All right. Oh, I don't know what. Oh, I think I got to wear that. Jake.
Yeah, you left it there. Yeah.
Is that? Oh, that's.
Oh, that's a microphone. I want to hear that exhaust go.
Okay. I want to dedicate this entire motorcycle restoration and this day to my parents. In loving memory of my mother and father, Antonio and Esther Cardinal, of which my father's expertise in training me as a mechanic all is part of this. All right, here we go. Let's see how many. Anybody want to wager on how many kicks? 3. 3? 2. 3, 2. All right, let's open the field.
Knowing you, it's the first one.
Well, we have to do prime kicks first. You can't just kick it and start it. So I got to prime it first.
About a one-jump Harley.
Advance that baby. All right.
Have a good night.
We're getting there. Started. I don't want to flood it either.
I think I made this statement once before. Women create life through having babies and men bring machines to life. To me, it's like almost having a kid. Seeing something come back from the dead, bringing something back to life that normally has been dormant for a long time or just been dead and nobody could fix it or nobody wanted to fix it or didn't have the time to fix it, just bringing something back to life. Sense of pride and accomplishment. I like a challenge. So to me, it's the challenge, the reward, and not to mention this particular. I've done restorations before. I restored 2 cars and a couple of bikes. And, this one in particular it's bigger than me. It's older than everybody that I know. It's part of history, and this. I mean, everything eventually becomes part of history. But this one's right here, right now, in my hands. I am the caretaker at this moment. And I brought something back to life that has been dormant for 72 years, that has been sitting in a good friend's basement. And the irony is that I've known about it all these years, and it almost like it was drawn to me, like it was meant to be mine since 1985. Maybe even sooner, who knows? You know, maybe since 52, because it's been sitting there that long. It waited for me to be born. Vietnam War came and went. Korea came and went. World War II, you know, well, I shouldn't say World War II, but 52, but all those points in history came and went, and then here along comes Tony, being born in 1971, and all the stars just lit up, you know, lined up for this project for me, and the fact that, you know, little things, I mean, like for example, I've looked at a box in my dad's basement since I was a little kid. Never knew what it was. Always saw it in the top corner of the shelf, blue and yellow box. Well, I was gonna order ignition wires for that bike. And I says, wait a minute, I remember bringing that box home and a bunch of other, you know, cloth covered wires that my father saved sections of. I open up the box and it's a brand new roll of ignition wire, the correct wire for that bike. So even from the grave, my father's contributed to this bike. It's almost like this bike was waiting for me. That's why this particular restoration means so much to me, is why I'm going through what I'm going through now, you know, talking to you about it, you know, having this little startup party, because I really feel like this thing is gonna be talking about me when I'm gone, much like I'm talking about it in its own way.